Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the Retired Living True series, and today's topic, embracing change, home, finances, and mindset. I'm just curious, who was here in January for the seminar we did on stage, not age? Was anyone here in January for stage, not age? I see a few hands. Yeah. So I want to refer back to that, and in fact, in your handout, there's a couple of images from that seminar on stage, not age. And one of the things we talked about back in January is that when it comes to making decisions and change, age is irrelevant. Age has nothing to do with when there might be a change in our life. Would everyone agree with that? Change can happen at any time. But sometimes we think, it's based on my age, where it's really based on the stage we're at and the circumstances we're experiencing at that point in time. And we can all be the same age, but be at very different stages. So we were going to talk a bit about that today. One of the things that we do know is while we go through different stages in life, we all have something extra that maybe a generation or two didn't have before. Can anyone tell me what that might be? We have more of. So as we go through stages, we have more what? Yeah. Age. I heard someone say age. We have longevity. We live longer than we did in past generations. And what that means for us is we have bonus time. We have extra time on our hands potentially. If we go back a generation or two, the average life expectancy was maybe 60 years, and then it grew to 70, 80. Now we have people living 90, 100 years. So many of us are going to have a lot more time on our hands than perhaps we thought. And if we have more time on our hands, what are we going to probably experience more of? More stages or more change. There'll be more change as we continue to age. So, as we experience change, actually, let me just ask, who's experiencing change now in some form? Yeah, I see lots of hands. Anyone want to call out? What kind of change are we experiencing? Just yell it out loud if you're willing to. Health issues, yeah. As we age, we go through different stages. Yeah, we're dealing with health. What else? A spouse passing. That's another change. Not a predictable change, just something that's part of the journey of life. What else? Where we live. Technology. Is technology changing? Yeah, so there's lots of change happening for all of us. If we don't think change is happening, we're probably either... We lost our screen? Jeff, when you have a sec, could you... Okay, it's back. Thank you. Whatever magic you did. If we're not experiencing change, we're either oblivious to change that's going on around us, or we're in denial. Could we agree with that? Yeah, so we're all experiencing change. So as we hear from our panelists today, I'd like you to keep in mind two things we're going to talk about. The first one, number one, is change. Change is happening to all of us, as we just spoke about. That's inevitable in some form. Some change we can predict. We know certain things will happen as we continue to age, like our health, for example. And some things we can't predict, but we can try to plan for. So some things we can be proactive about. Some things we just deal with because that wasn't something we ever expected that would happen. And then the second thing I'd like you to keep in mind as we talk with our panelists is mindset. Anyone tell me why mindset might be important as we talk about change? Yeah, habits. We kind of get stuck in habits. And mindset plays a big part when we embrace change. We can either embrace it in a positive way, or we can be in denial and push back and resist change. And that's probably to our detriment because we know change keeps happening. And I don't know if you'd all agree with this, but one of my observations as I continue to age, I think I embrace change a lot easier when I was younger than as I get older. I think might be just me, but I think change is harder, at least as I age. Does anyone else experience that? Change is maybe a little bit harder as we age? And maybe that goes back to habits. We're kind of used to how things were, and it makes change a little more challenging. So I'd like to invite my panelists to come up and join me, Alicia, Lisa, and Annette. Can we give them a round of applause as they come up, please? I chose these three panelists because every day they deal with change and people attempting to embrace change, and some people do it well and some not, but they have a lot of experience with change, and I thought they would be able to give us some really good insights in specific areas, but they all relate to embracing change and how our mindset impacts that. So maybe if I could start with you, Lisa, could you introduce yourself, why you're here, what you do, and maybe a fun fact about yourself that the audience wouldn't know?
Thank you, and welcome everyone. My name is Lisa Arch. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing at Premier Residences of Reno, formerly 5-Star, now WellQuest. So lots of change. Fun fact about me is like Annette, actually I'm a dual citizen. I grew up in Helsinki, Finland until I was a teen. And then my parents relocated me to Southern California. So it was truly like arriving in Disneyland.
Wonderful. I didn't realize you were a dual citizen. So I just learned something new. Wonderful. Alicia.
Hello, I'm Alicia Johnson. I'm an attorney with Johnson Law Practice, and I focus on estate planning in my practice. Fun fact about me is that I played Division I golf in college.
You're a golfer. Do you still golf? And can you hold your microphone just a little bit closer, Alicia?
I do still play golf.
Are you good?
No, not like I was in college, that's for sure. Don't play as much as I used to.
Are you embracing that change?
I am. Yeah. Actually waiting till I retire and then I'll play more golf. Looking forward to that.
Very good. Wonderful. And Annette?
My name is Annette Janelle, and I am co-owner of Janelle Moves Made Easy, which helps people downsize to a smaller space. When you have a lot of things in your home and you're not sure what to do with it, we can help you with that. And we help with the move and then unpacking you in your new space. I am also co-owner of Janelle Realty Group, where we sell the house for you at that time. And a fun fact about me is that I've been skydiving 3 times. The first time when I was 18, and my mother was not happy about that. My mom's in the room now. And this third time, well, actually the first time was at Stead Airport, at the airport out there. And 2 years after I skydived, they closed it down for having the most fatalities in the US. And my third time skydiving was with Brett and our 18-year-old son for his 18th birthday. My mom was also not happy about that. And we skydived in Minden over Lake Tahoe.
So hopefully we're starting a family tradition as each child turns 18, or each generation, they go skydiving. So we'll see how long that lasts.
I don't think my mother's happy about that.
So maybe I can start with you, Annette. And actually, just before I do, for those who are new, the format today is I'm going to ask questions of our panelists on your behalf for the next hour or so, the next 50 minutes. And then at 11 o'clock, we'll open it up to you, the audience, to ask any questions you may have of the panelists. So just ask as we go along, if there are things that come to mind that we don't cover, please write them down, and then you'll have an opportunity to ask the panelists your specific questions. So we'll just hold off on questions until we get to that point, kind of around 11 o'clock after a little bit of housekeeping. So Annette, can I just start with you? So most of us don't wake up one morning and decide that we're going to change home, move somewhere else, redo our estate plans, work out our finances. That just doesn't happen. Or does it? Does anyone wake up and decide to totally disrupt and change everything at once? No, probably not. So my question to you, Annette, is from your experience, what makes these decisions take time, and is that normal or not? And how much time might a big decision like that take?
Change can happen slowly to us. I mean, there is a reason why you bought your house that you live in. Oftentimes we have people that come to us and say the yard is too much, but you bought it at one point where the yard worked for you and you loved the yard. That's one of the reasons that attracted you to the house. And now as time has gone on, maybe the kids have moved out or the grandkids aren't there anymore, and it's health issues, things are slowly changing through your life. And so now that yard doesn't suit you anymore. So it's all gradual. It all kind of sneaks up on you. And then you're looking around and deciding, okay, now I need to make a decision about what I want to do. And deciding what you want to do can also take time as you research what is it that you want for your next step. We have a client that I met, that fabulous lady. She has this beautiful home, nice yard, single woman, and she met a man and they fell in love, and he has a beautiful home, huge yard. Now they've got 2 homes with 2 big yards. What are they going to do? Whose house are they going to live in? Are they going to sell both houses and buy one house together? It takes time. I mean, it's totally normal for you to take that time and research what is most important to you and going from there and deciding what you want.
Thank you, Annette. Alicia, in your experience, same question. Why does it take time to make decisions, and specifically in relation to the clients you work with, and is that normal? And what kind of decisions are taking time that you see?
Absolutely. So a lot of the decisions in estate planning take time. One of the biggest decisions is deciding who's going to be in charge, who's going to make decisions for you when you're not able to do that yourself anymore. And that can be medical decisions, it can be financial decisions. And so those are big decisions to make. I often will meet with clients and we talk about those roles, and they don't have an idea. They have no idea who they're going to put in that position. And it's okay. That's okay to not know. What you need to do is take the time, think about those positions. There's lots of options out there for you, especially if you don't have a family member that maybe you trust. There's some other ways to go. So I always present that to the client. And it just, allows them to think about it. And if they don't know right away, that's okay. They can take all the time they need to figure it out. I like to give them reminders and make sure they're staying on track with those decisions. But ultimately, my goal is to make sure that they make the right decision, because we don't want to have to come back and then amend when you've decided, oh, that actually wasn't the best choice. Certainly that does happen too, but we do want to take the time to make that decision and get it right the first time if we can.
I'd just like to follow up. We have a very educated audience here, and I know a lot of people have estate plans. Is that normal? Do most people go out in their 20s and 30s and get an estate plan, or is it in later life? Do you have any thoughts on that?
There's a blend of people in retirement who have never done their estate plan, and they're coming to me for the first time, and they say to me, I really wanted to get this done when our kids were young, but we just never got around to it, and that happens a lot. And then some people are more on top of it and maybe got it done when their kids were young, or maybe young adults. And they're at the point where maybe they need to make some revisions, especially if they haven't looked at it in 20 years, which is really common. And a lot has changed in the laws since the early 2000s, when a lot of people have done their estate plans, or even in the late 90s. So it is really important to look at that estate plan again, if that much time has gone by, to see what changes might need to be made.
Okay, thank you. So Lisa, you specialise in living options. So in your experience, what do you see in terms of people making decisions? Is it a quick decision, a long decision? Tell us more.
Well, hopefully I get to see everyone after all that's done. But truthfully, when people are experiencing those changes and starting to think about the next steps, that perception perhaps of loss of that life and of the things that you have, so cherished, can really hold people back, because it has that same emotion, doesn't it? You're just feeling like something's being taken from you. And often when we do discovery, we invite people just to come and to see what's available, because people also bring a lot of preconceived notions about what senior living would be like. And so slowly we can talk about, really turning maybe the tide of opinion, as well as just what can be possible, because change can also be really liberating, but it takes time to get there.
Can I just interrupt for one moment? I notice our screen is flickering. If we can, I don't know if it's both, for both screens, just the one. Okay, thank you. Working on it. Okay, thanks, Jeff. So, from your experience, just to follow up on the estate planning that Alicia was talking about, when people come to you, I'm just curious, do most people have estate plans, power of attorneys, healthcare directives in place?
Surprisingly not,
No.
no. And then that enters into an awkward conversation because suddenly you are kind of guiding that individual in what, yet another thing that needs to be accomplished. I will say that many senior living communities do actually require for you to have a power of attorney in place. And the reason for that is that if you were to become incapacitated, who is the one that's making the choices? You don't want us to be making choices for you. So it can sometimes be a setback. But I think I would say most people have thought that through already and have, the steps in place.
Okay, wonderful. So, Alicia, from your experience, do most people plan ahead and have things in place, or are they waiting until a crisis happens that's causing them then to seek you out because they don't have that power of attorney or other legal instruments in place?
Well, I think if you look at the statistics, you'll see that people do not plan ahead. The majority of people
do not
plan ahead, unfortunately. And so when that happens, you're looking at having to go to court, getting guardianship in place. Sometimes I get phone calls where somebody will call and say, my mom's in the hospital and she's possibly going to die. Is there any way you can get down here and do her will? I mean, it's just there's no way that that's feasible, probably for any law firm, frankly, to just drop everything for someone they don't know and try to get a will or a power of attorney done. So that's really the worst case scenario. And then, I wouldn't have a flourishing probate practice if people had actually gotten their estate plan done, which is, what I'm dealing with on the other side of my practice. So I would say on the whole, people, do wait or don't get it done. And then the consequences of that are it's just a burden on the people that you love, the people that you're leaving behind. It ends up in court. They have to wait for court orders. So it's time and expense that you're saving people by planning ahead and getting something in place.
Okay, thank you. So it's okay for us if we haven't done anything, because that's kind of like normal, but now's our opportunity to get things in place so we can better embrace change that's inevitable for most people in some form.
Yes, I think my caution would be don't wait until it's too late, because once the health issues have taken over, then it almost becomes an insurmountable burden to get it done.
Yeah, so when you and I were talking, you were talking about like cognitive issues. There becomes a point where like now it is too late. And
exactly.
Can you just elaborate on that just a little bit?
So basically, you have to have a certain amount of cognitive wherewithal to sign your estate plan documents, to sign a power of attorney. And unfortunately, there's some people that just don't have that anymore. Sometimes it's on a scale. People don't just one day wake up and they're not able to function anymore, especially when we're talking about senile dementia or Alzheimer's. Those things are very gradual. And so there is a point, with that kind of diagnosis where things can get done. But there also becomes a point where they can't be done anymore. And so that's, if you're in that area, it's tricky, and you got to make sure you get it done before you cross over into that area where you're not able to make those decisions and you don't have the cognitive capacity to sign the documents.
Thank you. So Lisa, when you're working with people, do you find most people are planning ahead? They're coming and seeing you way in advance to look at living options, whether it's a senior community or thinking about moving to a smaller home or in with family, or do most people start on that way in advance, or do you get people that are coming in a crisis situation?
I would say majority are being very thoughtful and wanting to explore and to understand what is, especially in Reno. I do get a lot of calls for those, the crisis has happened, a person has really overstayed in their home, and now we're looking at making that move. And of course, that brings up a whole nother host of issues and emotions for this individual, because now someone else is going to be making those choices in an emergency for them, and it may not be where they envision themselves to be. So it can be really, and it's so hard on the family. I mean, it's a gift that you give your adult children, being thoughtful about what you think the next step should be, because they often, the guilt that they carry in trying to figure out what you would have wanted it's a lot.
So how long does that process take to kind of plan and understand what my different options might be, whether I never plan on moving or I know it'll happen at some point? Does it take a lot of time process to try to start to make sense of all of this?
I am surprised. There are individuals that, say, well, I'm ready. I've thought this through. I would like to make a commitment. I'm ready for this next chapter. They might be lonely, or they've lost a spouse that, maybe there was a protracted, illness like Alzheimer's or something, and they're just ready to have life again. Because I think a lot of people mistake independence, that when they can do the same thing every day in a routine manner, that's independence. But it really isn't. It's just setting a structure for yourself day to day. Your neighbors may be moving away, your friends may be passing, things like that, and your world is just becoming smaller. And then by stepping out, you actually get the chance to have more independence and to be around people. So that's the best case scenario. The worst case scenario, as I mentioned, is the quick moves. And I always encourage people, they do set little guardrails for themselves. I want to say, like, well, I will move when, and you can fill in the blank. When I've gotten through the garage, when this particular surgery is done. But I think that's sometimes a mistake, because we don't know what's waiting for us at the other end there.
That's a really good point. What might happen in between time? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Annette, just from your experience, what do you see, as far as you're helping people, move and downsize? Is it something people are being proactive about, or is it left too late? What words of advice from your experience would you have?
I have the full gamut, but usually we, especially since we do the Retired Living Truth series, we have a lot of people like yourselves that plan ahead, educate themselves about what the options are. Just out of curiosity, how many have been to a downsizer's presentation that we've done, or quite a few of you? Excellent. And out of those people that have done a downsizer's presentation or gone to one, how many of you have actually made a move? Okay. Yeah. I hear lots of laughing. Yes. I mean, that is totally normal. You go to the downsizer's presentation, learn what the process is to help you in your decision making about what's important to you, and if you're married, what's important to both of you for your next step. It is really important. So that's one of the reasons why we do the downsizer presentations. We don't expect everybody that come to them to actually do the downsize. It is a step in the process of planning of what is important to you, and figuring out if you want to make the move. Oftentimes when people are doing that, they're also decluttering their home. So they know eventually they're going to want to downsize to a smaller space. It's a lot easier to do that if you don't have a lot of belongings that you're trying to figure out what to do with at the same time. So going through your home and starting to pare down what you have, those things that don't serve you anymore, donate, give them away, sell them. And then also, just what Lisa said, just going and looking at the different communities, talking to them, seeing what is available. Is this a lifestyle that you want to have? What does your future look like? What excites you? And not only that, but also it's a shift in mindset, because you've been living in your own home for a long time, and now moving into an apartment, or if you decide to move into a smaller space, a smaller house, or we've had people that their kids have added onto their home, and mom or dad is going to be moving into their house, or they decide to sell both their homes and buy, the parent and the adult child buy a home together. We've seen all different scenarios, but it starts with talking about it and figuring out what is most important to you, seeing what the options are, and also when you talk about it, it makes it more real for you. And it also helps get the support you need from your family, from your friends, seeing what professionals are available to help you with your plans, what you want to do.
Thank you, Annette. So my next question, starting with you, Lisa. So beyond the obvious questions that people come to you with regarding, living options and the difference between independent living and assisted living and all those things we've talked about in the past, what are some of the other things that people are grappling with and need help that just comes up in those conversations?
I think the change, in health and safety is one of the number ones that I see.
Can you just say that again because you dropped out?
Oh, sorry, health and safety. Safety being something that I think we do lose our ability to be objective about where we are, perhaps in our age. You've lived a long time and you're like, well, I'm fine. I mean, those phone calls when people call and say, well, how are you? And you're really not honest because maybe something had occurred. And so the safety piece always concerns me because there are so many people, our society is so scattered. Your children might be many, many states away and, relatives, etc., that what happens if you were to fall in your home alone? Who is checking in on you? Who, do you have a system in place? Maybe you text one another, and so that they can check on you on a regular basis, knowing that there hasn't been a crisis. You don't want to be a headline in the newspaper or on the internet. So for me, safety is one of the biggest.
So that'd be a good opportunity to have someone come in and even check your home for safety, the tripping hazards. I know one of our education partners, safety squads, I don't see Jeff here, but safety squads will come in and, there's Jeff at the back. Yeah, so part of embracing change if I plan to stay in my home is, just checking the safety of my home and removing anything that might cause me to have that fall.
Correct. Yeah, you might have loved that 2-story because of the view, but now those stairs are not serving you.
Yeah, or maybe they're slippery stairs and I need to change the surface or something to prevent a fall. So, all part of embracing change as we age. So, Alicia, so the same question to you, beyond the obvious questions about, trust, will, power of attorney, what are other concerns or things people are grappling with when they're sitting down with you for a consultation to get their legal paperwork in place?
So a variety of issues can come up. I would say, part of the planning process is deciding how you want your estate distributed. Who do you want your stuff to go to? Do you want to give away specific items of personal property, something that's really important to you that you want to give to a certain person? Making those decisions is all part of the process. I think, I see a lot of single people who are older, maybe they don't have any children, and so figuring out what they want to do with their estate can be a challenge sometimes, and we can talk about charities and things like that, things that interest them. I often bring up the Community Foundation, which is great if you're charitably minded. We can go through those options. Sometimes there's adult children who maybe have their own issues and aren't really ready to receive an inheritance, and so those are other issues that we have to explore and figure out what can we do for this child that's not going to impact their life when you die, because maybe they get all this money and it ruins their life. So we have to explore options on how we can control the funds, maybe exclude a child if it really comes down to that. Maybe a child has disability that we have to address in the plan. But those are kind of some of the issues that I see with my clients when we're dealing with sometimes adult children, sometimes no children, lots of different options with regard to how they're going to distribute their estate.
Okay, thank you. And I'm just curious, I know we didn't talk about this and maybe you don't have an answer, but I know it came up with Annette and I at a conversation. Loss of a spouse and at some time in the future perhaps being involved with someone else, and then the impact of the estate plan or re-looking at it, does that ever come up?
Oh yeah, that comes up all the time. So, whether it's loss of a spouse and or remarriage, which can happen, or it can be a divorce and a remarriage. You've got kids from two different families that you want to make sure that those kids are provided for, even if you're the first to die. You don't want everything to go to your spouse necessarily, or you want to make sure that your kids are going to inherit and not your spouse's kids, which if you do nothing, that's what's going to happen ultimately if you die first. So there is a lot of planning that goes into those blended families that can happen.
Okay. So if we're in that situation, we just definitely should come see an attorney yourself,
Yes.
or like Schultz Law Group, who's a partner, but go get legal advice before.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, wonderful. Annette, beyond the obvious questions of what do I do with my stuff when I'm downsizing and where I'm moving to, what else do you kind of encounter just in conversations that people are trying to grapple with?
How are we going to make this happen? We deal with moving, and when you have a home full of things and you're looking to downsize to a smaller space, the biggest question we have is how am I going to do this? I can't do this on my own. I have all these decisions to make. What am I going to do with all the things that I leave behind? I have to do this all myself. And the answer is you don't have to do it yourself. There's a reason why you're looking to downsize, and usually it's to simplify your life in some way, make it easier for you. And if you are tied up in all the things that are being left at your home, having to decide what's going to go and what's going to stay, that can cause you a lot of anxiety, and we have definitely seen that. So one of the things that we talk about, it's just like I mentioned before, you talk to your family, you talk to your friends, you talk to professionals, you let people know what your ideal plan is, and those people will help you with deciding with how it's going to happen. So when I meet with people, we do free consultations, and I talk to them about what is your ideal plan, and then we go step by step on how it's going to happen, how we can make it work for you. And then you'll let me know if there are other people that are involved that are going to help along the way. And it is amazing when I meet with people, just the weight that is lifted off their shoulders. They tell me, I feel lighter because now I know how it's going to happen. It's not all dependent upon me making this happen. It makes a difference. Talk about what your goals are, what you want. It's interesting, we talked to our son, when he was 16 years old, he made the decision to not have any sugar or fried food for 1 year. So that's huge for anybody to do, but he made the comment, when I told people that I was going to do that, other people held me accountable, and it helped me make this happen. So same with you, if there's something that you want, what your goal is, let people know about it, and the people that support you will rise to the occasion and help you, or at least point you in the right direction on who can help you to make it happen. You're not alone.
Thank you, Annette. And the comment that you just made about getting help, support, I think that applies to all, whether it's talking to the attorney or talking to the senior living community. Once you kind of know the process and what it looks like, it is a weight lifted, isn't it? Just like anything in life, once we have better understanding, better education, hence our seminars, we feel more empowered to be able to move forward or not.
Absolutely, and that's one of the reasons why we do the Retired Living Truth Seminar Series. That is why we have 24 education partners. They are professionals in different fields. So as you change in your life, there's going to be changes for everybody. As you need different things, there are professionals to talk to have that conversation with, and see how they can help you with it.
So let's move on and talk about those people who are not proactive. I know this room, you guys are all proactive. You're all here learning and how to keep improving and moving forward, how to embrace change. But for those who don't, for those who are in denial, for those who aren't putting anything in place or thinking about the issues of aging, who are going to let this crisis happen, Annette, what are some of the things that you see that are to their detriment?
We do one of our seminars is about downsizing, and we talk about, the average household has 300,000 items in it. I mean, when you count like all the scissors and everything that you've gotten in your home,
Can you say that again? How many items?
300,000 items. Well, that's a lot of decisions to make, and that is just in your home. So if you wait until you're in a crisis, how many people have been sick and want to make a lot of decisions? Do you feel like you're on top of things and can make really sharp and good decisions that you're going to be happy with down the road? We have gotten calls from people that are in the hospital. They're either in the hospital or the family member has called us and said, and my parents in the hospital, and they've been told that they can't go home. And they've got a house full of items. Now, who is going to be making the decisions for them? We've gone through with somebody in the hospital and via FaceTime and gone through the house, and they're making decisions from their hospital bed. Do you think that they're making decisions that they're going to be happy with down the road? I mean, there are times they're dealing with grief because they're having to let go of things all of a sudden, instead of what I talked about previously as when you start making decisions and you start downsizing your belongings as you go, it makes it so much easier because you're making a decision that you're going to be happy with because you've thought about it, not when you're in crisis and having to make a decision right away. And then also, how many of you have made a lot of decisions all at the same time and can continue to do it? Nobody. It's called decision fatigue. Have you ever thrown up your arms and said, forget it, get rid of all of it, I don't want to do this anymore? Have you ever worked with anybody, or maybe yourselves, that just kind of shut down and you just don't talk anymore? It's called decision fatigue. You're tired of having to make decisions about all these things. That is what you're dealing with if you wait to the last minute. Give yourself a break. And that is also what you're putting your family members through to help you through this process. If you're shutting down, then they are having to make the decisions. And then you may not be happy with it. We've definitely dealt with family members that there is arguments between them because somebody made a decision for them. They had to make a decision, and nobody was going to be happy about it.
Thank you, Annette. So, Alicia, do you have people that are making decisions in crisis like Annette was talking about? And what are the ramifications of that? I know we touched on it a little bit, but if you could just expand on just the ramifications of waiting until the crisis happens, not having that power of attorney.
Yeah, absolutely. So a variety of things can happen. So if there are no powers of attorney in place, then the people who are next of kin, the people who love you, have to go to court. They have to wait for a court order. They have to get a guardianship over you. And then, at that point, they can finally make decisions for you. That process can take a while, and it costs money. They have to hire an attorney to do that. Who's going to pay for that? They are. Because they don't have access to your assets. That's why they're there. So that's one thing that can happen. The other thing that can happen is if you wait too long, like Annette said, you're maybe sick, you're not making good decisions, maybe you have a terminal illness or disease and you're trying to make these decisions at the last minute. That just opens up the possibility of litigation, and that somebody's going to say, oh, they made that decision because they weren't feeling well or they were being pressured. And so now you have an estate plan that might be challenged in court, and that's the last thing you want to do when you're putting an estate plan together. You want it to go smoothly and be distributed according to your wishes. So waiting till you're too sick to make a decision, waiting until you're incompetent and you can't make a decision is really the worst case scenario for any kind of planning. And fortunately, I don't deal with a lot of that because, I have people coming to me and they're being proactive and they're getting their plan in place. But like I said, I do get calls from time to time where people are in crisis and they're trying to get stuff done at the last minute. And I just frankly don't have the bandwidth to deal with that. There's just, I can't fit them into my schedule. And I think it would be really difficult for them to find anyone to do that for them. So what they end up doing is maybe finding something online, trying to get, do it themselves. And that often does not work out either. So definitely don't wait till the last minute or until you're sick.
So that sounds really stressful for the individual, the family, the people that are trying to help them do the best, medical care providers, whoever it might be. It just does not sound like
very
fun.
Stressful for everyone involved.
Yeah. So Lisa, what do you see for people who have not planned ahead, who are now reacting in crisis as it relates to senior living that you deal with?
Right. Well, it goes back to also supply. So
What do you
For-
mean by that?
I mean by availability. And, often I can speak to, Premier, our wait lists are now a year and a half long. So if you haven't planned, and we're talking you're getting discharged from rehab on Friday, how is that going to work out? And you're going to end up, like we spoke of, somewhere where you prefer not to be. Or it's going to be very prohibitively expensive because it's a much, perhaps, size-wise it's larger, their care plan is different. So there's a lot of things to educate you on as to what would your next step, what would you prefer? Because, you really have to remember you as the individual. And I think when it comes down to, like we talked about the home, there's a lot of wonderful services. However, they are limited also with what they do. I think sometimes people think, oh, well, I'm just going to get home health. Yes, but, there isn't somebody there who's a nurse 24 hours a day. So there's a lot of considerations there, of course, depending on what the case is.
Thank you. I don't know if Kerry's here with in-home health. Kerry, here? No? But I know talking to Kerry, they can't immediately, come and help in the home either. They have wait lists as well. So, yeah, we need to kind of plan ahead or know. And I would think also it must be really stressful if you haven't looked at all of the communities and now you're being told you have to choose one. You have people calling going, I have no idea what your community looks like or any of the others, and I need to pick one.
Mostly it's the adult children or the power of attorney or a friend saying, I'm calling for a friend.
Right.
And, what do you have available? And the answer most of the time is, I'm sorry, we don't have anything at this time.
Okay, yeah. And then are our communities here? I know we have Brookdale, Clearwater, Somerset. If they're not here in the room, out at the tables. I see Trish there with Morningstar. Yeah, so is that the same for you, Trish? You end up having to turn people away because you don't have... Yep. Yeah, so we need to definitely plan ahead.
And actually, I'd like to expand on that. When I meet with people and they're exploring their options, I encourage them to go to the different senior communities, and if they like it, even if they're not planning on moving right now, to get on the wait list. Because once you're on the wait list, when your name comes up and they call you and say, we've got an apartment ready for you, if you're not ready, you're not taken off the wait list. They just go to the next person on the wait list, and the next time an apartment comes available, they'll call you again and say, we've got an apartment available, are you ready now? So it behooves you to get on the wait list.
Thank you, Annette, for adding that. So while you're still talking, Annette, well, actually, let me ask this. Maybe I'll ask you, Alicia, to begin with. What can people do together with you, like now, or someone like you, in the same field, in advance, before there's an impending change?
Usually people contact me and say they're interested in estate planning, and so we set up an appointment, and I always try to get some information from them in advance. So I do send them out some materials to fill out. Usually I'm interested in, what are their assets, what do they own, do they have real property, bank accounts, retirement accounts, things like that. Who are their heirs? Do they have children? And then, kind of get them thinking about who do you maybe want to appoint in the roles in your estate plan. A lot of people don't really understand fully what it means to have an estate plan. They don't really understand the difference between a will or a trust. They just know they need something in place. And that's okay, because I explain all that in my appointment with them, and we go through it, and I explain the differences and what might work for them and what may not work for them. But just to kind of get the ideas flowing, I do send out that information in advance to collect that information from them. So.
And how long does that process take from the moment I decide, okay, I'm going to reach out to the attorney, you in this case, till the time where I have, finalised documents covering all of my wishes? Is that like we're going to be finished by Friday, or?
It really varies from client to client. A lot of it is obviously dependent on my schedule. My schedule is pretty booked out, so if you were to call today, you'd get an appointment in January. And then it takes us usually about 8 to 10 weeks to get the drafts to you. You review them. Let me know if there's changes, and then we schedule a time for you to sign. So it can be really quick if you're really on top of it. You can get in and get it done in less than 3 months. But I also have some people who I have been reminding for over a year that they need to, come in and sign their documents. So, and that goes along with the whole, it just takes a while. And sometimes people have a hard time actually just saying, okay, yes, this is what I need to do. And that's okay. And that's why I send out reminders.
So like anything else, it's a process. We need to make
Yes.
decisions along the way, and for some of us that takes more time for some than others.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So starting sooner is better than
Yes, so
in
just getting the
crisis.
process started, I think, is really the best first step.
Wonderful. I'm just curious, who here has an estate plan, if you don't mind sharing? Yeah, wonderful. Congratulations. Yeah, a good number of the audience. Yeah, just always curious. So, Lisa, same question for you. What can people do together with you, like now, to help be better prepared? What would you suggest people do that who are never going to move? Do we have people in the room that are never going to move? Come on, be honest. Most of us, we're never going to move. A lot of us feel, we're never going to move. To those who are open, knowing probably at some point I'm going to have to do something, and maybe a community is an option, or maybe there's other options I explore, and I know you kind of tell people about all the options.
Yeah, I truly do. And I want to ask the audience this question. How many have you moved just once in your life?
Only once? Only one
Only
move?
once.
Only one move?
How about 5 times? What about 10?
Wow.
Yeah, and it goes up from there, doesn't it? And so what is it about that house that you feel that you cannot leave? Because the possessions are possessions, as we know. The memories you get to take with you. It doesn't change your personality. You get to take yourself with you when you make that move. So what we try to look at and match, hopefully, is who you are. It's not like buying a car. Actually, it is kind of a little bit like buying a car. We want you to test drive. So many communities actually have guest suites so that you can come and stay, perhaps for a night or a weekend, and really experience what happens on a day-to-day basis. You'll meet other residents. You can sit down and ask about their process and what it was like and what their opinions are about, what they might have done differently. So again, you don't have to do this alone. There's people here to help you. And as I said before, Reno has a wonderful, a plethora of options, and Sparks as well. So you really are fortunate. The only thing we don't have is a true CCRC, which would have been something like where you have cottages and then you still have services available from perhaps the main building and such. But certainly visiting and getting to know and trusting those that are helping guide you. And, we will listen and try to direct you and to see, there's so much opportunity there. I think especially when there's a loss of a spouse, when you've been a caregiver for a long time, you've forgotten who you are. You've been serving someone else for such a long time.
Thank you. All those people that have done multiple moves, I was amazed, more than 5, 10 moves. Can you just put your hands up again? Just want to see? Yeah, a lot. And keep your hand up. Keep your hand up if you said this is the last move at some point during that. And then you moved again. Did anyone ever say this is the last move, we'll never move it again, and then you've moved again? No one? No, honestly, I want to know. Did anyone say this is the last move and then they've moved again? Okay, I don't think you're all being honest, but yeah, I see people pointing at each other and yeah. So just be open to that possibility. Maybe there is another move. Maybe there's not, but maybe there is, because life does change.
I did move a lady that it was her third forever home. I suggested that she might not want to call it her forever home anymore.
Exactly to the point. Thank you, Annette, for sharing that. Did I ask everyone that question? I didn't ask you, Annette. I have to ask my wife or I'm going to be in really big trouble. So the same question to you, Annette. What can people do in advance, together with you or someone like you, that might help them?
It makes a difference. If you're planning on making a move to a smaller space, just to start decision making now, talking about it out loud, but also just start small. Take a drawer or start going through the things that do not serve you anymore. Do you have old equipment, like sporting equipment, that you don't use anymore? Are you storing, like my parents were storing sleds in their attic for their grandkids that have outgrown them? What do you have in your home that no longer serves you, or that you're storing for somebody else that it's about time they came and took it? We see all of that. So it is better for you to do that now, to talk to you. And if there's things that you are willing to let go and you would love to see a family member have that item and they want that item, make sure to check with them. Then now's a great time to give it to them. So start the process, start small. Every day make a decision that there's something that you're going to do to move towards your goal, if your goal is to downsize. And give yourself grace. It takes time. And some days you just don't feel like it. And that's okay. But every single day, think about what you're going to do and do something small, and eventually you're going to make a lot of progress. And by the time you meet with me, you're going to help you with that grieving, because it can be grief, letting go of things that were a previous life, things that you had done in the past, the home that you had a lot of memories in. But if you've gone through this process and you start small, you're not going to have as much grief. The grief is really more so when you have to make these decisions quickly and you're not starting ahead of time. So I definitely recommend, and there are people that, and I totally understand that it is too difficult to do this on your own. You need somebody there with you. Our team will help with that. There are other businesses in Reno that will sit with you and go through your belongings with you and help you with that. They will come and give you homework and meet with you, because sometimes it's really helpful to have an accountability partner, somebody to help you with that. So if that is something you need and you know that, let us know. We can help you with that.
Alicia, and thank you, Annette, what thoughts do you have that you could share with the audience when it comes to the role that mindset plays in us embracing change?
So it's a little bit cliche, but you often hear the only thing that's constant in this life is change, right? It's the only thing you can really depend on. I think humans in general are a little bit resistant, just like our lizard brain, to change. We get into our routine and we just want to continue that routine. But I think we also find that sometimes change actually, once the change itself is hard, but once you get to the other side of it, it actually can be a lot better. You look back and you say, oh my gosh, I wish I had done that sooner, because it's so much better now. Things are so much better now. So I think that's just something that we all need to work on and think about when we're faced with a challenge in our life. That means that things are going to be different, and we're going to have to maybe get out of our routine, or maybe, live in a different place, or get rid of our stuff, or, think about our estate plan. Those are all things that, they seem burdensome, but then once you sort of embrace it, accept it, and get to the other side, it's better. So I think that's just something everybody should keep in mind.
Thank you. Lisa, what advice would you have, again, when it comes to the role of mindset and us embracing change?
It's never too late to grow. You can grow as a person in a supportive environment. You can also, it's neat because people rediscover themselves once they're through that process. And if I had a dime for every time somebody said, she goes, oh, why didn't I do this sooner? I could retire. It truly is. It's just that we're held back by so many things. And I think we talk about, the kind of giving things up does have that same grieving emotion to it. And so, but that too, you can process and move through to acceptance, and then make it your strength. Make it like, I could do this. And many people take up hobbies that they weren't able to take or to do because they were isolated at home and couldn't drive, or had the spouse that they couldn't leave alone. And it's just wonderful to see people blossom and give themselves some joy. And that's what the goal really is to have your chapter be filled with something fulfilling and to feel joy again.
Very well said, Lisa. Thank you. Annette, what would you like to add?
I love the quote, "What you focus on expands." And what I mean by that is, if you are focusing on, as far as your mindset, of the positives, what are you gaining by making the move? What are you gaining? Because change is going to happen no matter what. So what are the positives? What am I seeking? If you're making a move and the reason why you're moving is because the yard's too big, the house is too big, there's too much maintenance, instead of focusing on what you're losing by letting go of the house, focus on what you're gaining by where you're moving to. You're going to have more time to focus on those things that are really important to you. You're going to have more time with your friends and family, those things that you enjoy. So what you focus on will expand. If you are looking for positive things, positive reasons to move, or positive things about the change, you're going to find it. The opposite is also true. So if you want it to be an easier process, focus on what it is you are gaining.
Thank you. Before we move to audience questions, is there anything that we didn't cover that you would like to add regarding late life transitions change that would help the audience?
I cannot emphasize enough about being able to talk about what you're processing. Talk it out loud, and it doesn't talk about what's important to you, because by talking out loud about it, you're going through a process of learning what it is that you want. Nobody knows, right? Change happens slowly. I mean, some things happen really fast, but for overall, we're always dealing with change. So making big moves, it's good to talk it out and figure out what you want. And then when you talk it out and you talk it around people that care about you and support you, it can help make decisions, make it easier for you to make decisions. A lot of what we talked about is deciding. There's a lot of decisions to make. So the more you talk it out and listen to yourself about what's important to you, the easier it will be to make a decision.
Thank you. Alicia, Lisa, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I mean, I think that's well said, and I think the other part of it is, kind of making your own deadlines, or I'm gonna get this done by this date. I think setting your own goals and then meeting them is really going to help you through a process where you are experiencing change, instead of just kind of locking up and being unable to act or make a decision. If you're finding that's true, then give yourself goals and deadlines.
So I liked what on that deadline, like what Annette said, and share that with people. Tell your 3 closest friends, I've set a deadline to get my trust done by the end of the year, or whatever it might be, to go look at a community, or to sort out my finances, or meet with a financial advisor, or so I think that's great, having a deadline. Otherwise, 2 years have gone by and we still haven't done what was needed to be done. Yeah, yep. Wonderful. So, who has a question of our panelists? And good, hands up. Our mic runners will get to you in just a second. Could we just keep it to questions specific to today and to our panelists? And if we have time later, if people want to share, we can. But please keep it to one question and specific to today's topic and to a panelist. So over here, Jill.
Hi, I'm Linda Nerstad. I probably don't even need the mic because I was a secondary teacher and I had to get my voice out there. So, can you hear me over there? Well, first of all, Dennis and I have been working with Brett and Annette for over 5 years, and we've done a lot of what you've said. And I have some comments for you. The first one is, we know a lot about the place we're living in, and right now it is independent living. And I'm not going to announce where it is because I don't think that's fair. But anyway, I would love for you to consider, Jeanette or Alexa, making a list. You guys know your audience. Make a list of those of us that are in a facility, memory care, independent living, or assisted living. And those of us that are willing, we're number one, we would love to share a lunch with you at our facility. Not that you have to attend and talk to the salesperson, but we will let you know what we like about it and treat you to a meal, okay? If that does not intrigue you, or you don't want to make a list of the people here that have what we have, then I suggest you do go out and visit, just like they said. The lady, Lisa, it used to be 5-star, and that's what I know it by. But visit and plan ahead. That's the first thing. But
Linda, I don't mean to
audience.
interrupt. Thank you. I'll come back to you if we have time, because I know we have questions, but thank you so much for sharing. That's great advice. Who would like the possibility of going and meeting with residents in the different communities, such as Linda volunteered to host people to come? Would that be helpful, perhaps? Show of hands, just so we have some idea, a few people. Who's been on our community tours that we've done in the past? That last April, or this April, sorry, we did community tours. Who would like to do those again? Yeah? So a good number of hands. So we'll probably do that in April, have community tours again. So thank you. So let's jump to this side of the room.
Yes,
and just keep it to a question, please.
I have a question, and it goes to Ms. Johnson, and the question is, what's the difference between a family trust and an estate plan?
That's a great question. So an estate plan just kind of generally refers to all of the documents you should have in place, such as the will, trust, healthcare power of attorney, financial power of attorney, living will. A family trust is a mechanism through which you can plan your estate and transfer your assets to your heirs without going through the probate process. So it is just one of the documents that would be prepared as part of your estate plan.
Thank you. Over this side. Sorry, Jill.
Hi, I have a question about probate. How much financial do you have to have outside of the trust that won't go through probate?
So if you have a trust and a pour over will, and there's an asset not in the trust, there's a very simple process to get that asset into the trust without going through a probate process. It is a hearing and there's an order, but it is not a probate. So it doesn't matter what the size of the asset is in that situation. If you don't have a pour over will and a trust, then anything over, it's now $150,000 is going to be subject to the probate process.
Okay.
Anything under $150,000 is going to be subject to what's called a set-aside process, which is that same process for the pour over will and trust, much abbreviated and just a hearing, and then you get an order.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Great question. Over on this side.
Another one for Alicia. I hope that you're not getting overwhelmed. You touched briefly on when you planning for a special needs person who will be left behind. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? What options are there for those who don't have a family member interested in being that guardian? And if not, what do you do?
That's a great question. Would you like me to repeat the question? So she was asking, when there is a special needs or disabled heir, what are the options if you don't have someone to choose as a guardian or who's going to be in charge of the financials for that person when you pass? And there are services out there. I saw Alliance Trust was here today. That's one of those private professional trustees that can step in and be in charge of any kind of supplemental needs trust that might need to be in place. And then if there's really nobody to act as guardian, there is a public guardian. There's also some private guardianship services that can step in as well.
Thank you. And Alliance Trust are here today. I can see Emily at the back, so they'll be outside at the end if you wanted to talk to them and find out a little bit more. I'm sure they'd be happy to help. In terms of private trust services, yeah. Yeah, you bet. Over this side, and while Jill's making her way over, who's got the next question on the left side?
Did you have one?
Oh, okay. We'll start here on the right, and then I'll come back to you.
Can you tell us what, is it a percentage, like if you don't have a will or an estate plan or a trust, what the percentage the probate court takes from your estate? I think there's a percentage that I heard.
So there, if you're talking about attorney's fees, there is a percentage that can be applied to the total value of the estate, and it's kind of it decreases as the estate is bigger, if that makes sense. I don't know the exact ones off the top of my head because I don't bill that way. I bill hourly for probates. And then on top of that, there's an administrator or personal representative fee, which is kind of the same thing where it's based on the size of the estate. So if the estate's $80,000, it's 4%. And then for each amount up over that, it's 3% and then 2%. So it can get costly depending on the size of the estate for that administrative fee, and then if the attorney's taking that percentage fee as well.
Could you give us like not you specifically, but like a number? If I had like a $800,000 estate, what might the cost be for probate? Or any number that you know that would be just ballpark?
So it's really hard to give an estimate without knowing, what needs to happen in the probate.
Sure.
If it was just bank accounts and you just needed to go through that probate process, you're probably looking at like maybe $5,000. But, if there's real property that needs to be sold and maybe there's multiple real properties, you could be looking at like $50,000 for a estate that size.
And I'm guessing $50,000 is a whole lot more than going and doing a trust and avoiding probate.
Yeah, it's not going to cost $50,000 to do your trust.
Yeah. So it's either pay some now or pay a whole lot later.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Two things. I have attended several estate sales that has been gone through your company, and they're great. I have then received a lot of things, but it helped me in this decision-making process to realize that I really do need to clean out. So when you attend an estate sale, it may help you in making a decision to do a little bit more because I'm like, I don't want people going through my bathroom drawers and seeing all that stuff. So that I am, and I do want to thank Alicia. I don't know that she'd remember me, but I did have I have a trust, and she was exceptionally very good to have patience and figure it out. And I would like to know, when you mentioned earlier that things have changed in the laws, is that something, I think it was probably 3-4 years ago, is that something we need to worry about when we have our trust? Look into that.
So that's a great question, I think, for everybody. How often should we be looking at revising our trust, going back to our attorney and...
Yeah, so, there has been a lot of changes since 2012, 2010. There were some major changes in estate planning taxation. And mainly it's that, it used to be a lot of people would fall into the category of having a taxable estate, and now they don't. Because we have huge exemptions, which right now are $15 million per person. So for you, that's not for somebody who's done their estate plan in the last 5 to 10 years, you're fine. But if it's older than that, you probably should have it looked at. And then I just tell, it's not like a set necessarily, look at your estate plan every 10 years. I just tell people, as things change in your life, your children are grown, you have grandkids, whatever change may occur, it's kind of a good time to just look at that estate plan and say, okay, is everything still the way I want it? Are these still the people that I want in charge? Are these still how, I want things to be inherited? Especially if there's like a death in the family or something like that, there might be a change that needs to be made. And I will just say, as an aside on the whole personal property thing and estate sales and things like that, your kids don't want your stuff. So the more you can get rid of before you go, the better for everybody.
So thank you for saying that. You've officially heard it from the attorney. Kids don't want our stuff. Yeah.
I also wanted to bring up about estate sales is it can be dangerous to go to estate sales because you walk out with more things. But it is also very educational going to estate sales, just like what you were mentioning. You see everything is out. I've gone to estate sales and I've seen 10, 20 pairs of scissors. And how many of you have multiple scissors? Yeah, you forget where you put them, yeah. And then you buy some more scissors, or they're not sharp enough, so you get other scissors. I mean, it just goes on and on. Nails, you just have multiples of all of these things. It is good to go through and pare that down so that when or if an estate sale is done on your home, you'll have a lot less of those duplicates.
Lisa, you had something you wanted to quickly add?
Oh, I had a very interesting experience this week. We're talking about estates, but there's also a piece of that is what are your wishes for your burial? And the issue that came up is that there was a trust. However, the arrangements had been made through a certain place, and they wanted a certificate from the lawyer that stated that this individual who was now deceased, their wish was to be cremated. That was a new one to me. So the thing is, it isn't enough sometimes that you just have some documents. Make sure that your wishes are aligned with what is in your trust. And that was a shocker. I was like, what? So just FYI.
Thank you for sharing that. Any more questions? Is any over here? Sorry, Jill. Or maybe Michelle, you can do the run. And then hang on one sec, Linda. We'll get you a microphone in a moment so everyone can hear. Can I just, any other questions, just so I know where to send the mic runners next? So just this one, and then we'll go to Linda.
All right, this question is for Lisa, based on the answer that Annette gave about the wait list for the homes. So is
Could
there
you just hold your microphone just a little closer, please?
Sure. So is there no penalty? I don't know if I will need it 10 years from now or 15 years from now, but is there no penalty for signing up now and just saying no every time that something comes up?
Well, I would say that that's really future, because the thing is that as those, like if somebody says no to me 3 times, we're going to have a discussion because there's something that's holding you back that we haven't discussed. So I always say, because currently, especially for some of our really nice big apartments, for couples that are coming from their primary residence, it is a year and a half out. So when you start to think of when you've decided your 5-year plan, I think would be a very reasonable timeline to start shopping around. I mean, you may be moving. You may be also moving to another area to be closer to family or children or what, for whatever reasons. So, yeah, I think 10 years is a little far out.
Good question. Thank you for answering that, because I'm sure other people were thinking the same thing. So Linda, just before we come to you, our education partners, now would be a good time for you to go back out to your tables, or at least in the next couple of minutes, before the audience leave, for anyone who wants to come and visit with our partners. And Linda, you had some comments. Yes. Linda, we'll get you the microphone, just behind you, Linda. And could we just remind everyone to complete their yellow evaluation forms and turn them back into us? Again, marking if you wish to attend an upcoming event would be helpful.
Brett?
Yes.
On the evaluation form, doesn't it have to do with what Linda is saying as far as the question?
Oh, yes. So I don't know if people noticed, Alexa added a question from our recent survey and focus group. People were interested, some, in forming like some social discussion groups. We're not sure what that would look like, but if you would like to be able to like stay back and meet with other peers or maybe go to lunch or something along those lines, there's a box there that says, I'm interested in joining a social discussion group with other Truth Series attendees and give permission for my information to be shared with my peers. And then just check the box. So if you'd like to do something like that, if we have enough people, we'll work out how to form a group, and it may be something like what Linda is doing, but some way for people to be able to connect together. So thank you. Linda.
As a blended family, the best thing we did was to select a person outside of our family to be a co-executor of our trust.
Very good. Thank you. Any other last questions? So I just want to thank you so much all for investing in yourselves and being here and learning. Yeah, and a big round of applause for yourselves and our panelists for giving up their time. Yeah, and we hope to see you next month for Driving After 80.